All right, welcome back to a dash of reading tonight. Amber and I will be talking about American Gods, but thank you for everybody coming out today to watch Dash of Reading. We'll be reviewing American Gods. Uh, man, this was a great book, and I can't wait for Amber to get on so we can talk about it. Hope everybody's had a wonderful week. Christmas is coming up, so I hope everybody's getting ready for the holidays, enjoying their family and friends. Can't wait to celebrate the holidays with my family. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host and we're going to get started.
Hey.
All right. How are you today?
Hey, I'm really good. How are you doing?
I am good. I have no volume. I'm going to try to get my volume going. Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you now. Oh, well, we're back for another edition of A Dash of Reading. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the amazing author Neil Gaiman and American Gods.
So good.
Yeah,
It was so good. But when I went, I checked this one out from the library, and I had asked you if it was the 10th anniversary edition or the original one, and you said original, but my library only had the 10th anniversary. So did you read the original one?
Yeah, I read the original.
So I'm curious. I wonder if we'll find out what's different. I want to know because he said there's like 12,000 more words in this one, and I wasn't able to find out what has been added to it. I actually have a friend who listened to the 10th anniversary edition, but then she is checking out from the library the original one because she's curious too to see what was added.
I'm gonna have to check it out as well because I'd like to know
Mm-hmm.
definitely what is different.
So I think he said that the 10th anniversary edition is what he wanted it to be. It's over 500 pages.
Yeah.
So his editors were like, we're cutting it down. And so this is how he wanted it. So yeah, we need to figure out what was cut out the first time.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure. Now you've got my interest peaked. I'm definitely gonna have to go back and check it out. I mean, hands down, one of the most amazing books I've ever read as far as Neil. I mean, and not that Neil Gaiman is not amazing in everything that he does,
Right.
but by far probably one of his best works, hands down, and one of the best books I've read in a while.
Have you read all of his? Like, have you read all of his books, or?
For the most part, I have there. Even the ones with Terry Pratchett, Good Omens. I've read that. It's been a while for that one. Even back to Coraline and he's. I mean, he has his hands in just about everything from
Yeah.
Comic books, The Sandman. So just an amazing, fantastic writer.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's. I think if this was to be true to life, this is how I would want it. Like them just being there as an old man or a young child or
Okay. Like the gods. You're talking about
the
gods just
or
living their life right
or
there with us. Yeah.
I mean, because you can just picture them. I mean, even though I've seen the TV, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the TV show of this. I still don't even picture the characters. I picture them different still just reading this because you just get a different feel. They did a good job in the TV show. Don't get me wrong, but
Did they?
Just going back and rereading, you're like, man, they did a good job, but you still get a different feel, a different vibe.
Yeah.
From these characters.
I like that it's not real. I don't like I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess I just don't like the idea of gods just jacking around with you like that. Earlier this summer, I read the Iliad in the Odyssey, and you just get so frustrated at the gods and their meddling. But I love learning about different cultures and their belief systems. And so this whole premise of all of these gods that were brought to America by the immigrants and then just eventually were forgotten about was so fascinating to me. I just thought that was really fascinating. I don't want it to be real. It was kind of weird for me. Because I've been a Christian for 20 years, and then last year I converted to Catholicism. So for me, it's just God and Jesus, and that's it. But I can suspend that for a bit and read a really great book. But to think of it as something that's real, it was just kind of weird. And Jesus is probably not in your book, is he?
No, but I know that is one thing that is different. I know in the extended version they talk about. Yeah. They don't really name him, but they talk about a beard. I believe there's a bearded man. Yeah. And he just. Yeah. Yeah.
He's at the very, very end of this book. There's just a little itty bitty 2-page prologue, and he's like, he tried to put Jesus in there when Shadow was hanging on the tree at the end, and he just couldn't get it to work. And so. Because I kept waiting for Jesus to show up. I'm like, how do you have all these gods and Jesus not be there? Yeah. So that was it's an appendix. That was kind of interesting. But like I said, I love books set in Russia and China and all the old world gods and fairy tales and folk tales and I just love all of that. So, all these immigrants come over here, and you have the Native Americans who've always been in here with their gods. But then the immigrants that never really integrated, right? And so eventually, as what happens in generations, what you believe, your great-grandchildren are no longer being taught. And so that was really interesting too, is these gods that were so important were not lasting through the generations. I thought that was really interesting to see what he did with that they were dying out, and then these other things were the money and stuff being taken place of those gods. Yeah. If any of that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. I find it fascinating, and I like the way that the Native the Native American, the way he talked to Shadow, he's like, we're not gods, we're just the land. We're here. We've always been here, and for that to be the person that he is most in tune with when it comes to his dreams is the Native American, and fascinating, and to hear just how their interaction was is like just continue, love that, and not that I don't want anybody to think that I wish this was real by any way.
No, I know. No. Yeah.
But I just feel like that would be cool in that aspect of that they are here. Jesus could be here as as just a person walking around next to us and seeing what we're doing, and
how would that change our behavior? How would that change our behavior if we knew that Jesus worked at the McDonald's down the road, or whatever god from Russia still shows up on your porch looking for warm bread that you're supposed to be leaving every day or whatever? Yeah. How would that change our behavior in today's society, in the modern society?
I don't think it would change it. I don't think it would change it much. I mean, like, and I'm not saying I'm all high, but I live my life still by a code, if you will, as I was taught by my parents, as I was taught through the military, that integrity, always doing the right thing, even if no one is watching. So even if, even though I know he's out there, I'm still going to do the right thing, I feel like. Yeah. But I don't think it would change overall. I think even if somebody knew, I think some people would still be the same way, and some people, and others would be the other way. And I'm not saying there would be, they would go out and mass murder or anything of that nature, but
well, Shadow, I love Shadow as a character. I felt like he was just, he was just a really good guy, even though, what did he do, rob a bank or what? He was drove the getaway car.
Yeah, drove the getaway.
I felt like he had a really good moral code, and he was that way before he knew that the gods were roaming the earth, and before he found out that his father was the All Father, which that threw me, by the way. I did not see that coming. Did you see that coming?
No.
I didn't get it. Yeah.
No.
I totally missed. I was so into this story that I missed a lot of stuff because I was just like along for the ride. Like I was just curled up on the couch and just immersed, and I wasn't trying to figure anything out. But I really like Shadow as a character. She's just a really good guy.
Yeah, he's, I mean, if we're talking about integrity, there's the man that has integrity written all over him. And again, seeing that Odin was his, Odin was a dead giveaway when they said Wednesday. And I was like, oh, yeah. But it took me forever to figure out Loki. The guy's name, he's literally in jail with Loki. And I didn't put two and two together until way after.
You need to explain to me the Wednesday thing, because I don't know.
Certain days of the weeks were named after the gods, and Wednesday was before it got changed into Wednesday was Odin's day, and it sounded like Wednesday, and Thursday is Thor's day.
Gotcha. Well, as soon as I figured out Loki was Loki, which I didn't figure it out, he had to say it on the page. I was like, oh, Dash is gonna like that.
So it's true. I mean, even like I said, even though it's literally right there, that gods are involved. Loki just didn't. All these other ones registered with me for the most part. There were some I was like, I don't know who that is until I had to do a little bit of searching, but research. But overall, I like the fact that, I mean, that's how it would be. You don't just come to a different land and or automatically go, I'm going to start worshiping the Native American gods when they came over.
Right. You would have brought your own gods with you. Mm-hmm.
And
that totally makes sense.
When I first picked this up, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be all Native American. And, I'm going to see all the, but then to have the other gods come in, it was great. So basically, the long story short, this is a long con from the beginning. I mean, it's just a con game.
Yeah.
From the beginning, and that, I mean, I should have picked up on. I mean, because even Wednesday told him, literally told him in the story what was going on and how this is going to be.
That went over my head.
Yeah, you're right. It went because you said it best. You're like you're so invested in what Shadow is going to do and how he's going to handle this. Yeah. Each time around. Yeah, and then when the realization hits you in that chapter, at that very, at the end, you're just like,
right.
He told us from the beginning.
When I read a mystery, I am like on. Like I have my detective hat on and I am like actively paying attention for clues. When I don't read a mystery, I just enjoy the book. Like I turn that part of my brain off. And so I think it made this more enjoyable for me to not, and I went into this blind. I've never seen the TV show. I had no clue what it was about until I read the little, this part in the book, and I was like, all right. And it's so good. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah.
I hope someday there's more. We get to see Shadow carry on. Especially after reading that very last part of the epilogue and the where he goes to I don't know what yours says, but mine, he goes to Reykjavik, Iceland, and he's sitting there walking around and he meets Odin again. So we know that he's obviously, if he's still alive and he knows that it's his dad, he's going to be alive, I think.
Okay. Oh shoot. Well, we didn't put our disclaimer, but hopefully people know by now we spoil things. Okay, when Shadow was gonna go give the flowers to Sam, right? And she didn't see them, they just ended up in her hand all of a sudden. Is Shadow invisible to everybody? Why is he invisible at just that moment?
I think
was it just that moment, or is he now? Or why didn't she see him?
I think after he accepted who he was there on the tree. This is just my take, my feeling.
Okay.
After he finally accepted who he was, and he knew how to control, but he couldn't get behind the scenes without Odin's help. But then to go in and face and do what he needed to do. He learned how to get behind the scenes to take care of things. So he finally, because there, even when he's talking about, and Odin says, "Show me a trick." He could do the gold trick that
Right.
the leprechaun taught him.
Leprechaun did.
So he started accepting what he is and who he is, and
So like his powers, like he
yeah.
was just. Yeah.
So I think he learned after his time on the tree and dealing with, and coming to realization that his dad is Odin, and that he's part God himself. Is how he was able to do that.
Okay, so he's not totally invisible now. He was just at that moment was able to give her flowers without her seeing. Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I really like Sam, and I wish there was more to that story. And there may be there may be. I just liked her. I liked her character because she's like, and I wish I could remember, but she goes into this long spiel. He's like, I don't know if he's going to tell her a story. And he goes, I don't know if you'll believe me. Yes. But she goes in, well, I believe this, and she just starts naming off.
I have these little book darts, and that I actually, because this is a library book, I'm going to write that whole thing out in a notebook because it was fantastic. It's really long, so I'm probably not going to read it, but it reminded me of that Kevin Costner scene in Bull Durham about the kiss or whatever, where he just, it was that, and it was genius. It was literally genius.
That is just, if there's a best part of a book, that scene between those two was the best part of the book. And people that are watching, I highly suggest you read this book because she nails everything in one long paragraph about so long, and it's
so good.
It's so good. I can't say there's anything I dislike overall. Some of the.
I mean, no, there was nothing I totally hated.
Yeah.
Nothing that irritated me. Neil Gaiman's writing is just phenomenal. Yeah. So if you've never read a Neil Gaiman book, just go to the library and get one. I don't care which one. Start with one. But yeah, as far as dislike, I don't know. He had a lot to say about America, and at the end of this book, he says, "How dare you?" Like, he was, because he's British, for those of you that don't know. But I think his wife is American, or there was some reason he was living in America at this time. And so he actually took this road trip himself. He literally drove around to all of these places while writing this book. And some of the city names are changed. But he was worried people are going to be like, how can you, as an Englishman, write about America in this way? But nobody really did. Everybody just took it. And he had a lot to say about the old gods and how America now worships money and technology and the internet. And this was written how long ago, Dash? Do you know?
2001.
Okay, and he's not wrong. Like, he wasn't wrong then. He's not wrong now. You know, we worship at the altar of busyness, and I don't know. He had a lot to say about America, and I felt like it was pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, it was hard to read. You know, as an American, you're kind of like, you see me that way? What?
Yeah, you know? he. I mean, it's true though. I mean, you're reading a book about old gods, which we've talked about: Loki, Odin, Anasazi. I'll never say his name right, but you know,
there's a centaur in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, talking about even with the dwarves and the leprechauns, and then you get to the new gods, which this whole battle is about, and it's media, it's internet, it's money.
The media. Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's everything, and they you know, they're like, well, we're on the winning side. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody, you're losing the gods are losing because all we care about is money. All we care about is what we put on the internet, and all we care about is what's on the news.
So can I read this? This was in addition to Sam's really long paragraph. this is one of my favorite things he said. It's certainly not too late to change to the winning side. But you also have the freedom to stay just where you are. That's what it means to be an American. That's the miracle of America. Freedom to believe means the freedom to believe the wrong thing, after all. Just as freedom of speech gives you the right to stay silent.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh. For him not to be an American and to get that, I was impressed.
Yeah, he was. That one gave me bumps as well. I was just like, wow. He's like,
so good.
It was pretty good. I mean,
it's so good.
Yeah, it was so good.
Oh no, go ahead.
I understand the whole Laura thing and her redemption there at the end with Loki, but I think she was the only part that I didn't really, if she was in there or she wasn't in there, it wouldn't have mattered to me.
Yeah, like what did she do? If anybody else, if you've read this book, type in your thoughts on Laura, either here when you get to the YouTube, because I'm not sure she had a point either, but she had to have. And we're just not getting it.
I think it was just her redemption for what she did prior to him getting out of jail. Do we know
what she did?
Huh?
What did she do? Because I have a feeling that he helped rob that bank for her. He went to jail for her.
Yes.
But why did she want, I don't understand why.
It was for her and the guy she cheated on him with. It was all about getting them something to get I think it was to get the either something to do with their business or something.
Okay.
It never really specified.
Their travel. Okay.
But.
So I wonder if she was there, exactly what you said. It's a redemption story. When Shadow, I'm such an idiot. When Wednesday told the story about hanging on the tree for 3 days, going into the underworld for 3 days, and then whatever, coming back in 3 days. Dude, this little Christian girl was like, oh, la, 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 la. It didn't even click until Shadow was hung on a tree. And I'm like, oh, that's so symbolic of Jesus, right? And then we know that Jesus went to the underworld to take on our sins and then came back in 3 days. So I wonder if Laura's there because there had to be somebody for Shadow to redeem.
Yep.
To tie that in.
That's why he told her to go to the farmhouse where the 3 old ladies were to drink the water to bring her back.
Yeah.
So she could end up doing what she needed to do with the stick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because everybody had a part to play in her redemption was helping to stop Loki or Mr. World.
That was a crazy scene, the way she killed him.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Gosh, I feel like, does yours have discussion questions in the back?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
There was some.
But feel free to throw some out there.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk, we talked about the gods and what America, what comment he's making on modern cultural values. I think, 20 years ago, it's still relevant today, which is really sad. I liked this one, but I don't really have an answer. What is the significance of the illusions, cons, and magic tricks that occur throughout the novel? American Gods is a novel in which magic, myth, and the divine coexist with the normal, mundane, and human in a way that is utterly believable, which you touched on that at the beginning. So how is this illusion maintained? Like how do normal people not know that is Odin and a centaur and...
Because of just the things that he was showing us. It's all about sleight of hand and keeping your focus on one thing while the other thing is happening.
Yeah.
At least that's the way.
We're distracted with our internet. We're distracted with what's going on in the news. Oh.
It's just like you said. What if Jesus was down at the local McDonald's working at the register? I mean, we wouldn't know it because we would be standing in line looking at our phone going, I want a burger, and then going right back to our phone and not paying attention.
Well, shoot, in 2021, we're ordering our burger online.
Yeah.
Or at the kiosk. We're not even talking to a human anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman had a lot to say.
Yeah. And 20, like you said, 20 years ago, and a lot has changed in 20 years to up to now. So,
Yeah. So speaking of that, I actually wrote down a few things because it cracked me up. Because we talked before, I love books set in the past, and so it's fun to read. You're like, oh, a Studebaker, that's so cute. That doesn't exist anymore. But when you read a contemporary novel and there's things in there that no longer exist, but you vividly remember them existing. So like the Kinkos and the Blockbuster and the payphone, I'm like, oh God, I'm old. Like I just, I vividly remember these things, and it was just wild.
He's like, I'm going to keep. That was one of the first things I picked up on. He's like, I'm going to Kinko's to run this off, and I'm just like, there hasn't been a Kinko's around in.
I know.
But yeah, I think basically all, and I mean, to sum this book up is just literally what we take for granted in the world and what we leave behind.
Yeah. I heard a pastor say one time about how you will be forgotten after 3 generations. Because my granddaughter remembers me, and she may tell, she'll tell stories to her daughter, but her granddaughter probably won't hear stories about me at all. So I was thinking of that with these gods who, after 3 generations, were no longer remembered. It was interesting. It's kind of sad.
I mean, the thing I got from it, though, is somebody's still remembering somewhere. Somebody, I mean, obviously that's why that's what I took away from it.
Yeah. They're still there.
I mean, the only thing, I mean, I get some of the side, the side missions of how they got here, but some of that I think I could have done without, like.
The taxi cab driver.
Huh?
Horrible. The taxi cab driver?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was just put in there to be put in there. But I mean, I could have done either way without it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more without it than I did with it.
Yeah, I understand the little bits about the gods and what their lives were like now, but he got kind of vulgar with those. And I don't know why. One. Unless he was just pointing out that America's vulgar, and that's just where we are now,
That was the only thing I could come up with.
Yeah.
Was that I did like the tie up, because I was when he moves to Minnesota, or Minnesota there, and he's living by the lake. I was like, oh man, he's not gonna finish that out, and maybe a little bit longer in yours. I did like the way that played out. About, he's like, I put it together. He's like, I finally see, and it had nothing. It was something that was said to him out of context that he's like, oh, because I think it was Whiskey Jack that had said something to him. He's like, oh, now I see it. Yeah. And that's why he goes back to take care of
the car on the ice to find the missing girl.
Yeah.
So when they started listing off all the kids that were missing, I'm like, okay, there's some sacrificial things going on, because Wednesday was like, I need you specifically to go here.
Yeah.
So there was a reason why Shadow was protected. That they were in the trunk of those cars, and again, Neil Gaiman just has a way of writing to where you're just reading the story and you're not like, taking it apart every.
I did not know it was the old man. I thought it was Chad. I thought it was the sheriff.
Yeah.
So the twist of it being, because he kept saying, because when he kept reading the stuff, both of them were there in the old time, and I was like,
yeah.
Well, that's an old name. That's an old name. So that would stick around, I think. So and that was one of the illusionary things. And so I kept going, well, Chad's the sheriff's uncle or grandfather or great grandfather was there. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's him, because, and it was just like, wow.
So I actually it didn't shock me that it was Hinzelman, the old man, because of his car. He still had that old whatever it was from the 20s, and that was my clue that I hung on to. I was like, it's probably him.
I just felt that part was like, oh, this is too obvious for B. Hinzelman. It's too obvious, because you want, and I thought it might have been or even though her son was missing, I thought it could have been Miss Olsen. For a bit, I was thinking, well, maybe it is. But yeah, and then for it to be Hinzelman, I was like, Okay, all right. It was there all along, and I'm just.
I also thought maybe the townspeople knew. Like it was like the whole, like there's some of those stories where the whole town knows that there's going to have to be a sacrifice that happens. For a while there, I thought maybe everybody was in on it, but
they had. How could they not know something? Because they were prospering from so long and so forth. How could they not know that something was? But I get you.
It's one of those. So there's all these stories in World War II of the concentration camps, and you're like, how did the townspeople not know? So the only camp I've ever been to is Dachau, and you have Dachau, and you literally have the town. Dash. It's not a gazillion miles away. It's like this. So how do you not know? I call BS at all of that. So I wonder if it was something like that. Like they knew, but they're just
they're choosing to
not
overlook
talk about it. Because what are they supposed to do about it? How can they stop it? Kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah. So I can't say I can relate to anything in this because obviously I've never.
No.
No. With something in this, I just don't know if you can relate, but I do. I guess maybe to like we talked about Shadow and his integrity, even though he had been in trouble, he still maintained his good nature and his good heart and his good mind.
Yes.
So I think if anything, I can relate to anything. It's knowing people like that, I guess. And I know some people that no matter what, they would give you the shirt off their back. And things of that nature. So I think on that. Did you learn?
It restores your faith in humanity when you come across people like that. But also, I guess as far as relate, I don't relate, but what I understand is our idols. We're not supposed to have false idols, right. But anything that's taking your attention away from anything good is probably an idol in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's always good to be mindful of those things and to do like checks and balances within yourself. What is taking your time away from the good things, from your faith, from your family? And just kind of reset on all of that so we don't end up like these people here.
Yeah. Did you learn anything new?
No, you just taught me that Wednesdays from Odin stay. No, in the book, no, I didn't.
I don't think there's anything I learned new because just even you and I talking offline about comics the other night and things like that. I do a lot of reading, so I think for this one, I just kind of it was just good knowledge to know.
Enjoy it, yeah. Just enjoy the ride, man. Yeah. It's a good book.
Overall, I give it a 5. I mean, I absolutely give it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 4, which is really good. 5s are hard to come by with me, but so a 4 is really good. It's really good, y'all, and I think you should give it a try. Even the little nasty bits that are in here are so short, you'll be fine. Yeah. And you can skip it, and you'll know what we're talking about when you get there. It's not gonna matter.
Yeah, well, so I'm glad we chose that. I really am. But now we get to read one that you chose. I went out.
Oh, you got it. Yes.
I did get it. It is called How Lucky by Will Leitch. It's a little bit horror-ish, a little bit thriller-ish.
It reminds me of, what's that movie with...
Rear Window.
Is it called Rear Window?
Rear Window.
Yes, it's very Rear Window-ish.
So I am looking forward to this one. You sent that to me. I was like, oh, okay. I looked it up real quick, and I'm like, yeah. So we went straight to Barnes and Noble yesterday, and I was like, yep, I'm ready for it. So yeah, this looks really good. I've read nothing but it just came out early this year, but I've read nothing but good reviews about it overall. So I'm excited for this one. This will be our next one.
I like that the protagonist is disabled, and you don't always see that. And he's in a wheelchair and he can't speak. And just to let everybody know, he looks out the window and he sees somebody get kidnapped. So,
definitely, if you want to read along with us, go get How Lucky, Will Leitch. like I said, reviews are nothing but phenomenal for it. Outstanding
Yep.
reviews. So I'm excited about this one. This is our over the holiday short read, I
Easy
guess,
read.
if you will.
So little.
Yeah, it's very. But I am excited, looking forward to it. Wow, we're getting ready to Christmas. I can't believe that.
Oh, I know. I think I'm ready. I may buy Eric another present. We'll see how good he is from now until Saturday. But other than that, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, I think we just got some little things here and there to tie up.
Yeah.
I've got to teach my little one not to tell her brother what his surprises are. We've learned, we're learning what a surprise is and when to say and when not to say this time around, because
such a fun age. Aw.
yeah, and you're just like, you're trying to give her that look, and she's like, so. But I know it's great, and it's going to be fun for the holidays. I absolutely 100% enjoyed you and your Christmas vacation quotes the entire day yesterday.
I know I probably annoyed a lot of people. But
well, you won't annoy them. You can say them all the time. That movie is fantastic, and I love to see the. And I was surprised. There was a few people that were like, "I have no idea what you are talking about," and it was like that's funny. So
sad.
Well, we'll get back next month, and we'll be talking about How Lucky. But I hope everybody enjoyed American Gods.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Merry Christmas to you. I will probably
Merry Christmas to you.
I will see Eric on Tuesday. We
He's
may have to push to
watching football right now.
We may have to push to Wednesday because some of the games that we are waiting on were pushed back till Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So I will get offline with him about some of that stuff that I would definitely want to talk about leading up to those. So
his Wednesday is free, so if you have to switch it, I know he can be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Bye.
Enjoy.
I love that we get to do this.
Yeah.
I love that we get to read and talk about things we love. So I appreciate you coming out.
Of course.
And we'll see you on the next one. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. That was Dash Reading. Like I said, go check out American Gods. It's fantastic. Neil Gaiman. You cannot put it down. I guarantee it. The only reason I had to put it down is because I got kids and I had to go take care of them every once in a while. But other than that, fantastic read. Next month, we'll be reviewing How Lucky. Like I said, Will Leitch. Go check it out. It's Rear Window-ish, Hitchcock-ish. So go check it out. If you want to read it along with us and come back for the next show, we'll review it. Let us know what you think. But other than that, have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you for coming out. And check out for next month. I'll be advertising when we're going to be doing it. But thank you. And if I don't see you before then, Merry Christmas to everybody and good night.